I'm coming. If you hand over to government to maintain, the budget the money and share it.
To live in that particular place that the house is. So it's supposed government to really compensate them so that and pay them and relocate them to where they are going and build another house for them.
Careful engineering and management to meet human needs.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us on today's episode of Property Doctor. If you're new here, this is Property Doctor, where we talk about the acquisition of properties, the maintenance and the management of properties to help you save time, save money and even save lives. You can connect with us on our social media handles on Facebook, on Instagram and on YouTube, just like you're doing right now at Property Doctor NG, and on Twitter at Property Doc NG. My name is Fumi Amunega Ajayi, also known as your Property Doctor. Today we'll be talking about lights, how to conserve energy during lighting our buildings. Now, if you enjoy this program, please don't forget to click on the like button and also click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever any new episode comes up. Light is important to the world, and when God created the world, he made light one of the first things he created because he saw the importance of light. The Bible told us that God created the greater light for the day and the lesser light for the night. At all times, God wanted us to be lighted. He wanted the world to be lightened. Light is the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. You need to see things around you to appreciate what you have. You know, buildings are important to us as well. And like we always say, it is good to have light inside our buildings for different reasons, different purposes, and so on. But in those days, the light we have, or the light we had in those days, consumed so much energy. And this affects the income. Well, you know, the kilowatts that you need to pay for to get power into the building to lighten up your home is another thing to contend with, because the cost of getting this power supply is getting high by the day. And we are in the season where power supply fails more here in Nigeria. And we need to do something about that to save energy, to help us get more light into the building and to save the energy that we are talking about today. We have different lights for different reasons and to get different effects. You know, you have Christmas lights, you have light for direction, light for so many things for us to see, yeah, for security. Even you have lights that have motion sensors, you have solar lights, you have decorative light for beautification, you have chandeliers, you have Christmas lights, you have lights to direct people on the road, that's for direction, and to even help pass a message to people. Now let's talk about the tips on conserving light in our buildings. This should start from the design stage of the building. You need to know how many windows you should introduce into the building or means of getting light into the building during the design stage. You need to encourage more natural light to get into the building as much as possible. This will help you save energy or save power supply or power you will need to spend in the home. You need this because sometimes you can have power failure. The bulb can get broken or may need replacement. And in areas like the stairway or the internal corridors, in public places, at homes, in schools, in hospitals, hotels, and so many other places, if there's a loss of light in that particular area, at that time, you find out that the place just goes dark and people may get scared if there's darkness suddenly. You know, they don't know what has happened, especially children. They get scared, and even some adults will get scared, and because they don't know what has happened, that the whole place went so dark. Now, you need to know the areas where you situate your windows. that will allow natural light. You need to understand the sunrise and the sunset to allow natural light come into the building as much as possible during the day, so that you don't need to put on your lights. You don't need to put on, the bulbs. You don't need to put on light into the building. This will help you save the power that you are using, or conserve energy in the building. Now, if you introduce windows into your building, it can help you also to ventilate your building. So if you situate it properly, you can encourage ventilation. You can watch our video on how to get cheap ventilation on YouTube. I'll leave a link on that particular topic below. Light is very important in a building. Light is important to the world. Light is important to everybody. Now, you need to know your environment. Are you close to the road? Are you close to trees, maybe rocks or structures that can block the natural entrance of light in your building, or the entrance of natural light in your building? You need to take these things into consideration when constructing your building. But if you're a tenant and you find out that maybe the building is already there, you have to introduce other sources, maybe the artificial source of getting light into your buildings. There are bulbs that can store up energy for you. You can use those kind of bulbs to store up energy, and whenever there is power failure, you just put on the bulb. Or you can even use that when there is power, but you are using the power that you have stored up inside the bulb to lighten up your environment. This can help you to save or to conserve energy. You can use energy saving bulbs so that whenever you put on your light, at any time you don't use so much energy on your lighting purpose or lightening the house or the building, so that when the light is on, you are not using so much energy. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, you can also control the light. If you have a light in your building, you can control the amount of light you will use at any time. These days you have lights that you can increase the brightness or reduce the brightness, and this will also save the energy. So when you don't need much light, you reduce it. If you need so much light, you can also increase it. Now, let's talk about outside the building. When you're looking at outside the building, you need solar lamps to lighten up your environment. You can use the ones with sensors so that you don't use so much power that has been stored up in the lights. You can use the light that has sensors. So when you have people passing, the motion sensors will come on, and you use brighter light so that you can see what is outside. In any other case, that means you just lighten up the environment just a little. But when there's a movement outside the building, the light comes brighter, and you will even be notified that something has happened. That is, if you are awake during the night. You can use solar inverters in our buildings so that can always light up your environment anytime, any day. So when you use your solar, you can lighten up the buildings. Now, in schools and in hospitals, most people talk about lighting up the place. And sometimes, because of this power failure we experience here in Nigeria, we're advising that you can introduce rechargeable bulbs for students to be able to read, maybe for doctors and nurses and patients in the hospitals, so that they will not be put in the dark when there is power failure. In the airports as well, we need to introduce solar rechargeable lamps on the runway. You can introduce solar lamps in different areas in the airport, in public places, so that we don't get embarrassed that there is power failure in our country. We need to do something to get out of this power failure problem. Now, we can introduce doors that have glass at the top so that natural light can come in during the day. Then at night, any light that is outside that you need to come inside, you can also get that light into the building from the doors. So it's not just through the windows that you can introduce light. You can also introduce light from the top of the doors into the buildings. That is, if you don't have access to having enough light into the building from the outside. You can use glass blocks as well. Instead of bricks or sandcrete blocks or concrete on your walls, you can introduce glass blocks for beautification and for you to get more light into your building. This will save you using so much money and getting power into your buildings, because you find out that when you have those kind of things like the glass block, the glass on the top of your doors, you find out that more light comes into your building during the day. So you don't need to put on your bulbs. You don't need to put on your electricity lamps inside the building. Now, during the day, when you don't need your bulbs, you don't need electricity, use the natural light. And when you don't need the light, you can just turn off your bulb or switch it off and make sure that you are not wasting your current. You're not wasting power. You are conserving the energy. Sometimes we use so much money on power because we are not managing the power supply or the power that we have in our homes properly. If you're using solar energy, or if you're using solar to get power into your home, or if you're using inverters, you can store up your energy. During the day, you use the solar to lighten up your environment, and at night you can use the electricity that you have conserved in the batteries. And if you cannot conserve in the batteries, you can just use the light from the sun to lighten up your home, using your solar energy to get power or to get current into your building, and at the same time lighten up the building during the day. So you don't need to pay for the electricity you will use during the day. So you only have to pay for electricity you are using at night. I know you say you have spent so much money getting the inverters or solar and all those things, but over time you find out that it's a means of saving money and you conserve the energy that you have used. I hope you learned something from this episode of Property Doctor. Thank you for being with us today. We hope to see you same time next week for another interesting episode. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoyed this episode, and also click on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever any new episode comes up. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day and bye.
I'm coming. If you hand over to government to maintain, the budget the money and share it.
To live in that particular place that the house is. So it's supposed government will compensate them so that and pay them and relocate them to where they are going and build another house for them.
Careful engineering and management to meet human needs.